doing? Welcome to the channel and welcome to this episode of the Sunday Sum Up. Appreciate you taking the time. And you can probably see already that the format is different. I've decided to go audio only for this episode, just sort of testing it out for a couple of reasons, actually. Number one, I'm not super comfortable being in front of the camera. Sometimes I just don't want to deal with it. And I don't hate being in front of the camera. It's, it's kind of fun and exciting and stuff. But sometimes I just want to come in here and sit down, press record, and not have to worry about lighting and making sure my screen isn't too bright and the glare isn't on my glasses and just all these little things that I don't want to deal with sometimes. So I just decided, what the hell, let's do something different. It's going to be different in regards to what you see on the screen. Normie wife's going to be doing some fun stuff in the background for me, and she does all the editing and the sound and everything. So shout out to Normie wife. She's really who puts the videos entirely together. I just record and then I walk away and she deals with the rest of it. So thank you, babe. I appreciate it. But I just wanted to change it up a little bit, kind of keep it interesting for myself, and also, one of the things that I don't know if you do this, but when I listen to even a stream, like a live stream, and it's going to be, an hour, 2 hour long show, like, some of your favorite streamers out there, they may have like a really long form show. I don't sit there and stare at the screen. Like I will put it on my phone and I'll listen to it in the background while I work or while I'm taking a shower or something like that. So I was thinking to myself, like, is it really that big of a deal? Maybe it is. Maybe this doesn't work. And maybe next week I'll just get back to doing what I've been doing. But I just thought to myself, well, why go through that trouble of, getting it set up just right for people to probably put it on and listen to it in the background, because they're not necessarily going to look at the screen. And maybe you are. And if you are and you don't like it, I apologize. Like I said, I'm just taking a shot at something new here. But I'll be doing the same thing. I'll be going over the regular rigmarole, some movie news, some TV show news, or some streaming show, I should say, and getting into some gaming news as well. So the same topics and everything, but just different format. Sometimes it's just a little bit easier too. Just like there's not lights in my face right now. I can click on my screen, and I don't have to worry about like what I look like, which is always nice. But let's go ahead and get started. First thing I wanted to talk about was I wanted to tell my Top Gun Maverick story. So this movie came out Memorial Weekend. So it was like, I don't know, it's been like a few weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that, maybe even longer, regardless. No, it had to have been. Yeah, that's right, because that's in May. It's already July. Jesus, where's the year gone? But Normie wife and I went to go see Top Gun Maverick. Was really looking forward to seeing this movie. As I've said before, I'm a big fan of the original movie. I watched it as a kid. Huge fan. We go to the theater and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving the movie. So I thought from the get-go, I was worried that I was just going to be nostalgia bait, because there's a lot of member berries. There's a lot of things that are callbacks that are from the first movie. However, it really they sort of pepper you with it at first, in sort of that first, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then it sort of just takes a turn and it starts to tell its own story, which I really, really enjoyed. I was really appreciative of that, because nowadays, especially, I don't know what's going on. And I want to talk about this too when I get to the gaming stuff, talking about remakes and things. But nowadays there's just so much nostalgia. Like everything has to be a remake or a reboot or a retelling of a story, a good story that came out, back in the 80s, back in the 90s, early 2000s. It's really common now. And for the most part, it sucks. I think Hollywood they have jumped the shark in filmmaking completely. They are glomming on to everything that they can that has to do with some IP or a movie, a license that has already been made, already been done. And there's so many examples, and I don't want to sit here and name them all off, but there's so many examples of let's make a show or a movie about a show or a movie that came out back in 2001 or came out in 1985. And it's really getting tired. It's just, so going into this movie, I was thinking that, like, okay, are they going to make a new movie? Is this going to be a real story that they're going to tell? Or is this just going to be a remake of that movie? Just beat for beat, just swap out the characters. Maybe they're, maybe they're not playing volleyball. They're playing a different game, which does happen. But, and I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to get into spoilers or anything like that. The movie's still popping too. Like, last time I checked, it was like $1.2 billion. Tom Cruise's first billion-dollar movie. So good for you, Tom. That surprises me because the guy's been doing it for so long. He's been in movies forever. But back to the story, I was really happy with the characters, the story arcs. I was really getting into it. The action was really good. The what do you call it? The dogfighting and the camera work inside the jets, outside of the jets. Like, all of the action scenes were really good and tense, and sort of gave you that feeling like, hell yeah, like you just, you feel like you just want to go jump to a jet like right now. Even though you jump into a jet right now, as a civilian, that would you'd be tossing your cookies pretty quick. But regardless, I was really loving this movie. Normie wife was enjoying it. We were having fun, and we got all the way to the third act, and I mean deep into the third act, and a major plot point happens. Something big happens in the third act, where even me, I vocally sort of gasped, and I was like, oh, no way. And no kidding, the lights went dark, the screen went black, the lights went out, and then the floodlights inside the theater popped on. It was like, I couldn't believe it. My mind, it took me like a good 5 seconds of like, what's going on? Like, what's happened? And then, people start, shouting and sort of just jokingly heckling the screen, just like, what's going on? And, even I hollered out a little bit, like, pay your light bill. And, so someone got up and they went out, and then they came back in a couple minutes later and they said, yeah, the power's out. They have no idea why. They're going to refund tickets, and the movie's basically over. So I have seen about 95% of Top Gun Maverick, minus the last, probably, based on how long we were in the theater when we left, probably the last 10 to maybe 15 minutes tops. That's how much of the movie that I've missed. And I just have not made the time to go back in. It's a long movie. To me, it was okay. The length was fine. It didn't feel too long at all. However, long movies, it's a long day. You got to kind of plan for that. And to be honest with you, I've just been kind of lazy. I just have not felt like, planning that time out to go in either after work or on the weekend. So I will go see this movie. I will finish it. I do want to see it. I was really enjoying it. I can't say that the movie is awesome, and I can't say that it ended in a great way because I just don't know. But yeah, that's my Top Gun Maverick story. So, but I think it totally respects the original movie, the original characters. It picks up in a great spot. It picks up where it makes sense. Like, everything that's happening in the movie makes sense based on where we left off from the original movie 30 years ago. So, but I will check it out. And I mean, even having said all that, I still recommend going to see this movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Especially if you're a Gen Xer like me, even if you're a boomer and you've seen the original movie, trust me, this pays homage to the movie, to the original, and it does a great job. So, all right. So moving along here, the next thing that I'm watching, actually I finished watching, was Kenobi, the series on D+. I don't know. I can't get over how bad that show is. It defies logic of how bad that show is. It's terrible. There are people that I've listened to that have said that, oh, they really like it, and they like what it's doing, and they like the character, they like Leia, and oh, and Ewan McGregor is, still doing his thing. I completely disagree. There are probably maybe 5 minutes out of the entire, maybe not even think, I wouldn't even say 5 minutes. There's a few minutes out of the entire 6 episode series that I actually liked, with that I saw or heard something that I was like, okay, that's kind of neat. But that's it. That's it. The rest of it is utter trash. It totally destroys the Obi-Wan character. It destroys the canon. I mean, I can't get over just how much they just discarded canon. And it actually, and some people say that, like hyperbolically, they're like, oh my God, totally destroys this, and oh, what the hell, and you ruin it, blah, blah, blah. Listen, if you just take this show based on the story and the plot and the arc and what the characters do and say, their actions, they have consequences, and those consequences really do just tear up the canon. They tear up the prequels. They tear up the original trilogy. It's just a mess. And it's so funny because, Disney, I'm not hiding how I feel about Disney. I think they're trash. I think they're a trash corporation. I think they're garbage. And I have no respect for Disney whatsoever. What's funny is it doesn't feel like that long ago when it was so fun to just hate on the prequels. It was just so easy to just bag on them, overdone CGI, terrible acting by Hayden Christensen, too much, like the second, God, what's it called? Attack of the Clones. Like, oh, it was so slow and boring, the love story, yada, yada, yada. And, oh, the pod racing was so lame, and who thought that was cool? And just trashing George Lucas and trashing the prequels. Boy, Disney started off with that in mind. I feel like a lot of people, including Disney, was thinking those same things. And now it's so ironic how much they're grabbing everything they can from the original IP, from the original 6 movies. They are doing everything in their power to draw Gen Xers and Boomers in with the prequels, with the OG trilogy. And I think they've actually moved away from the OG trilogy, and they're really, like, this series was just obviously for obvious reasons, but it really stuck to the prequels. There was so many things from the prequels that were pulled into this, and it was garbage. It didn't make, so many things just didn't make sense. There are so many, I could go on for hours just breaking down every single episode, but it's not worth it. It's trash. They actually made me dislike Princess Leia. The young actress who played Princess Leia, I thought she was terrible. Her acting was really bad. Now, I will say this, the writing is just the lowest tier budget writing you could ever imagine. So I don't entirely blame the actors, because there's only so much an actor can do based on the script and based on the direction. So I understand that. I do kind of, I don't lay this at the actors' feet and say, oh, well, if the actors would do better, then the show would be good. That does happen. I'm not saying that an actor can't come in and stink it up. That's been done many a times, but this show's quality is just so low. I have to give them, all of the actors, kind of a break. But still, having said that, Reva's character was trash. She was really poor. Her acting was poor because, I think, of the writing and the direction, but she cannot emote. Like, they had her yelling a lot and screaming, and it was just funny. Every time she yelled, I laughed. Every time she screamed or she was trying to be like evil, it just came off as comical. None of it worked for me. Her character did not work for me. And her arc was trash. You knew when I saw the very first episode, I said, okay, there is no way they are not going to redeem her in some way. They cannot allow a woman to have any sort of character arc where she's actually pure evil. They always have to justify it or glorify it in some way so that the woman character isn't necessarily bad. You look at Hawkeye with Kate Bishop's mom. She was a murderer. She was a criminal. She was working with, a murderer, criminal, kingpin. And in the end, of course, it wasn't her fault. It was her dead husband's fault. He got her in trouble, and therefore she had to do what she did. She had to murder people because of her dead husband. Is that type of crap. Like, that's what I mean. They won't allow a female character to actually be evil. I mean, like I said before, they took Cruella. They took a terrible, evil woman, and they turned her into some sort of like anti-hero, like, so cool, look at me, isn't it awesome to kill dogs, isn't it awesome, like, oh, that's so cool, like, she actually skins dogs and wears their clothes, isn't that neat, isn't that cool, kids? It's like, what the hell, Disney? And that's Disney. That's why I don't like Disney. That's why I think they're trash. They have no they have no ability to write good characters. They just cannot do it because of their politics, because of their social status, or their social opinion, and how they feel about social issues in this country, and the way they feel about politics. That's what generates their stories, and it's trash. You can't do that. You paint yourself into a corner when you start forcing these sort of, when you can't let a character just be bad and write a villain, like a true villain, whether it be a man or a woman, whether it be black or Mexican or white, it doesn't matter. They will not make these characters as just let them be. Just be like, write good characters, have them do, if you're going to do a redemption arc, make it good. But I knew going into this, when I saw Riva and she chops off a woman's hand, she's ready to torture a child, like literally with like saws and stuff like that. Like, she's ready to carve up Princess Leia's face, but they're trying to get you to think that she is a good person, that she's redeemable, that she's okay. Like, she's murdered people. She's murdered Jedi. She has no problem stringing them up. She has no problem torturing children. And Disney wants you and I to cheer for that. They want us to say, like, oh my God, that was such a powerful arc. It was so powerful at the end where she decided not to kill Luke. It's like, what? It was so stupid. It was so stupid. Her arc was just terrible. Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan, I don't know what's going. They had something there, I think, with the broken man trying to get his feet underneath of him. I'm okay with that. I actually thought that was a good, like, going into it, when I saw the first trailer, I thought to myself, like, okay, maybe they do something here. This would be kind of neat, because let's not forget, at the end of the prequels, Revenge of the Sith, he thinks he kills his pupil, his best friend, his Padawan. He thinks he kills him, and so that's weighing heavy on his heart. He watches Padme die, and he watches Yoda, throw the towel in, his mentor. Everything is just falling apart. All the Jedi have been killed, and just everything's just in disarray. And so his journey, I thought, would have been really cool, and I was cool with that broken man thing. That didn't bother me. It was like having all of that done to him. He lost common sense. He lost his critical thinking skills. He lost his ability to problem solve everything. He was absolutely useless. He had no agency whatsoever. Everything he did was Leia leading him along, or that one chick, I don't even know her name. They tried to make this one, like a rebel. Oh gosh, I can't remember her name. Regardless, they really tried to drive home this sort of like, she's such a, strong and capable, woman, and that's whatever, that's fine. But it was like he couldn't do anything without, like, when they were together, she had to do everything. She led him around, and everyone called it. Everyone called, like, based on Hollywood over the last, 7 years, 6 years, whatever it's been, we knew, everyone was calling it, that this is going to be just like everything else. It's going to be just like Hawkeye, just like Loki, just like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, just like Thor: Love and Thunder. That movie just came out. It's the same crap. it's the same crap. They have to take these IP and they have to crap all over them, and they have to show us why what we used to love when we were younger, how it's wrong, and how there's always the better person. Usually that person, well, actually not usually, it absolutely cannot be a male. Like, it just cannot be. And if it is, it definitely can't be a white male, which is just insane. That's just insane. And that's what I mean. Like, they write themselves into these corners, and this is what you get. This is what you get when you start, when you try to create and you limit yourself in so many ways. You cannot be creative. You can't. You're actually just you're just producing. That's all you're doing. You're just producing. So, yeah, and it's just terrible. Terrible, terrible. I thought the show was trash. So I don't recommend it. I saw it coming, and when I was watching it, I mean, I laughed out loud a lot. So if you're looking to be irritated and to laugh at Disney, sure, check it out. And if you're paying for D+, I mean, it's just time. You're just losing time. But I mean, I lost 6 hours. It wasn't even 6 hours either. Some of those episodes were kind of short. But what else am I watching here? So this is a show that I've been wanting to watch for a long time, and people have been telling me to watch this show called Cobra Kai. And this is now, I think the first season came out like 4 or 5 years ago, whatever. And it was a YouTube original is what it started as. And then it got picked up by Netflix. Well, Netflix is trash. They have all kinds of problems and creative problems, just like Disney, just like everybody else. And I really was worried because a lot of people that were telling me to watch this show, they don't really, they're normies. They're like me, but they're like the normie, where they're just sort of like, yeah, I don't really care about that. The woke stuff doesn't bother me. I just sort of brush it off, and I just like to watch, and it's like, that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. And if you're like that, that's okay too. But for me, I just, when that stuff, when that agenda stuff and the message comes out, I cannot unsee it. It just gets in the way and annoys the hell out of me. But Cobra Kai season 1, we burned through it. It's really short. It's only 30-minute episodes. And Normie wife and I burned through it in like 2 nights. And it was really good. Surprisingly good. And I've been hearing people say how good it was, and I've been hearing, oh, check this out. And I was like, I don't know. It's not a remake, but it's a show built on an IP from like 30 years ago. Okay. And the difference is like Maverick, this respects the original. It actually builds on it, extends it. It doesn't have to step on it and squash it and rewrite it and change it and make sure that, everything you thought was cool isn't cool. And if it was because of some other fucking agenda crap. It's actually just building on the characters. Daniel LaRusso and Lawrence. Oh my God, I forgot his first name. Oh man, I can think his name. I can see his face, but I just can't think of his name. But the Johnny, there it is, Johnny Lawrence. It builds and it tells the story from Johnny's perspective, and I think it was done really well. I really do. I think we're about 4 or 5 episodes into season 2, and still good. Now again, season 2 came out a few years ago. Hollywood has been getting crazier and crazier with every passing year. So by the time I get to season 4, it might be garbage. It might be just agenda garbage, and I just don't know. But so far, I'm liking it. I think it's good. The action, it's good action on a budget. It's on a budget. You can tell it doesn't have tons of money thrown at it, but the fight choreography is still fun. It's not entirely believable, but it's not ridiculous like Kate Bishop unbelievable. It's actually pretty believable, so not too bad. Next thing we're watching also, so we got a few shows, a few irons in the fire, which is kind of nice because, I don't know, I'm kind of over the binging, like the binge model, where you just sit and watch all of like 5 or 6 seasons in a weekend. I don't know. I just don't like that. I kind of like the, let's watch 1 or 2 episodes of 1 or 2 different shows, on Monday night, then change it up on Tuesday and then Wednesday and Thursday. And, kind of, I don't know, maybe that's just me being old and just sort of liking the days of like DVR and stuff. But so we're watching a few different shows right now. Cobra Kai is one. The other show is Stranger Things, season 4. Now, I can tell you, I think that Stranger Things has the quality, the writing, and the characters have fallen down with each season. Season 2 I thought was worse than 1, and I thought season 3 was worse than 2. I actually thought season 3 was pretty trash. Like some just really poor, unbelievable stuff. And again, I get it. I understand. I know some people like you say that and they're like, oh my God, dude, can't you just like, it's not real, right? Oh, you believe in monsters and you believe in the upside down world. Come on, just unplug your brain. I've seen those comments and I've heard people say that type of stuff. And I've heard people like when people defend bad stuff, that's usually what they say. Like, oh, really? You're just being critical. And oh, why can't you just have fun? It's like, okay, you're just having fun. I'm sorry, I can't have fun with my brain unplugged. Okay, I just can't. I think about stuff when I watch it. And Stranger Things, to me, I thought season 3, it had great pacing, and it had some decent moments, some fun moments. But I thought there were way too many moments that just didn't make any sense. There was way too much coincidence. There was a lot of plot armor. There was a lot of plot convenience to move the story along. And again, because I thought the pacing was moving along so well, I kind of was like, this isn't bad, but there were so many times I'm like, wow, that was lucky. Like, no, we wouldn't be here if that little thing didn't happen. Like if the timing was just so perfect. And I think that's going on in season 4. I thought episode 1 was extraordinarily rough. I really did not like episode 1. I think I said season 1. But anyways, episode 1 of season 4. I didn't like it. I thought, to me, I felt like I was watching adult actors play as children. And I know that the actors, they're not adults. I don't think they're all like 20s and 30-year-olds or anything like that. But it just felt like these older kids. Like I felt like I was watching actors act like children, like try to portray themselves, and it didn't feel genuine. Like season 1, it really had, everything felt genuine. It felt, like everything gelled, everything made sense. The attitudes and the way people treated each other, especially in that time in the 80s, it really worked. But in episode 1 of this season, I was like, this is bad. It kind of had that feeling of like, it was like watching episode 1 of season 6 of Game of Thrones when Dumb and Dumber lost George R.R. Martin's guidance with the books and they had to start writing for themselves. It was immediately noticeable for me. From the very opening scene of season 6, I was like, whoa, this is not the same. It just didn't feel the same. Everything looked different. The dialogue, everything. But it's you kind of lower you lower your expectations, as I did. That's all. And then I guess that's the best way I can put it, is I lowered my expectations. I knew that they weren't using the books anymore, so I kind of was like, okay, let's just give them a fair chance. At the time, no one knew that Dumb and Dumber were going to have this much, that they lacked this much talent, because Dan and Dave, they're trash. they just disappeared. There's no one hiring them, and they were just they could have written their own checks to any company, and they did. They had like I think it was like a $250 million deal with Disney to go do a Star Wars trilogy or something like that. And where's that at now? But anyways, back to Stranger Things. The episode felt like that. It just had this like, it felt very disconnected to me. And then I watched episode 2. And it got better, got a little bit better. And there were things about it that I liked, or that I do like, because we're not done. We're only on, I think we just finished episode 4. We have 4 to go. I think it's 8 episodes in total. But it was building up. So far, up to episode 4, it's building up nicely. I like the villain. I like that the villain has like a face now, instead of this ominous thing, this sort of evil, sort of demon, whatever, that's sort of in this upside down world. It's nice to actually have a villain that speaks and has a voice and a face. It's kind of cool. I like it. And I think the villain looks pretty rad. Like he just looks cool. I think he's one of those, I've always enjoyed like cool looking villains, going back, especially like with horror and stuff. You go back to like the classic days of like Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger. You know, those three right there were like, when I was young, it was like, man, those guys are so cool. Even though they were murdering, you know, on a murdering spree, chopping up bodies and all this other stuff, it was like they just had a really cool look to them, you know, and that's why those franchises just kept going and making so many movies to this day. I mean, Jesus, they're still making Halloween movies, but regardless, it was nice to see the antagonist actually have a face. There are some things that I really dislike. I think the plot is decent. I think it's a decent plot. I don't think it's very strong. One of the things that I will say is there are some plot conveniences, and there are things that, like, there is message in there. Like, there is some agenda, and I disagree with some of the creators that I listen to, and you know, people that I trust with their reviews and stuff like that. I disagree because I think season 4 is getting a lot of praise, but I mean, I've only seen 4 episodes, so again, this is a midway review, midway through the season. But I can see the agenda, like the boys, the male characters, they don't really do anything. They're like wallflowers. And there are scenes where they're literally just sitting there, and they're being sent off to sit and wait while the girls get it done. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it isn't that bad, and I get it. And I know some people are like, oh, dude, it's not that bad. Like, come on, it's a little bit, but overall, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but I can't unsee that stuff. I still can't. So when I see, you know, one of the characters who I think is really annoying, they introduced this character last season. Her name's Robin, I think. And I think that's Uma Thurman's daughter. And I'm a big fan of Uma Thurman. But her character is annoying. And it's like this new thing that a lot of that we see in like TV shows, and especially in Hollywood, particularly with like anything that has to do with that has kids, they always think it's like cool to show a character who may be on the spectrum and acts like they're on the spectrum, and then they talk about that they're on the spectrum and that they know they're on the spectrum, so that it's cool. And it's like it's like that whole thing where they have to make sure, where they tell you, like, the characters don't just act, they tell you what they do, and they talk about why they act the way they act. And her character does it. Her character does exactly that. Like, it's such a cliche writing trope to have an annoying character be self-aware annoying and then tell other characters about themselves. So instead of us just having to put up with her annoying shit, we have to have her explain to other characters, but basically telling us that she's an annoying character who has some sort of social disorder. It's tired. It's a tired trope, and I'm over it. And her character's super annoying. I just don't like her character at all. The other character who's ridiculously annoying is, I think her name's Erica. It's Lucas's little sister. She is useless as a character. I have no use for that character. Every time she's on screen, my eyes roll. She talks like, just the way she talks, she's just nothing but attitude. She's constantly insulting. She has no sort of relatability to her whatsoever. She's not a likable character. And it's like, why would you do that? Why would you take a young girl and make her just so annoying and mean? Like, she's just flat out like a mean person. She has no real like, I don't know what the word, like friendliness to her. There's nothing about her where the characters in the show would even want to be around her, because she's just rude to everybody. And it's annoying. I think what they've done with Will, and I always forget his name, Will's brother, Will's older brother, they don't even do anything. Like Michael, he's same. He hasn't done much of anything at all. He's just sort of following Eleven around. They introduced this other character, this pizza delivery guy. Oh my God, this guy. I cannot stand. He's another one. Every time he shows up, I'm like, oh my God, dude, you're so annoying. And he's wearing like an obvious wig. Like it could not be more obvious. He has hair that goes like down to his belt. You know, it's super long, and I got no issue with long. I have long hair. Okay. I've got no issues with guys with long hair, but his hair just looks fake. And he always has a hat on. So it's like, if you take that hat off, that hair's going to go with it. It is just, and his acting his character is annoying as hell. His acting may be just perfect for the character. Maybe that's the point, right? Maybe he's supposed to be an annoying character. So just enjoy it. I can't enjoy it because his character is annoying. Every time he's on screen, he just sort of sucks out all of the energy with his like just dumbness. It's just so annoying. So I really, there are things about the show that I like. There are things about the show, like I think the plot's kind of cool. I think the way the villain is doing like his dastardly dirty deeds, he's killing children. And sorry if these are a little bit spoilers, but I mean, Stranger Things, it's not like about puppies and stuff, and it's not about like rainbows and unicorns. It's pretty dark stuff, especially for kids. And that's another thing too, is like this show, I mean, is this supposed to be for children? Or is this supposed to be for kids? And if so, how old? Because there are some themes here that I'm just like, that seems a little bit adult for a 12-year-old, for a 10-year-old. Now, and again, raise your kids any way you want. If you think your kids are ready, every kid's different. Some kids are ready for stuff, for more scary things. Some kids are not. But there are just some things that go on, and I'm like, wow, like if that's pretty dark. Like, let's just put it that way. But yeah, I think the show is good. I think the plot is decent. I think some of the agenda crap is rubbing me the wrong way. I'm still going to finish it. It's definitely worth watching. I mean, for sure. Like, this is a Normies like 7-course meal to me. And for like the typical prototypical normie, I should say, like I said before, I'm a normie. I am, but there are certain things that I just won't conform to, and I just can't do it. I think this show is probably the normies are just eating it up, loving it, because there's a lot that I think that the normies out there would just love. It's got action. It's got a little bit of mystery. It's scary. Special effects are strong. I think special effects are anyways. I mean, there's not a ton of them, but there's still some there's a couple of things where I'm like, that is obviously not real. That's obviously like a, CGI, but for the most part, I think the special effects are strong. Costume's good. Music's good. The era, obviously, that's my era right there. So there's some things to like, but there are some things that I'm just not really loving too much. But regardless, I think it's worth watching, and I'm going to finish it. And maybe I'll just do like now that I've seen through episode 4 and I talked about it. So now I'll let it finish out, or I'll finish it. I'm sure everyone's already seen it because I think it came out. I don't even know how long it's been out. It's been out for a minute, but all right, let's move along here. The next show that we're watching, show called The Terminal List. And that's is that right? For some reason that doesn't sound right. Let me look that up real quick. So I swear it's called The Terminal List. Let me see here. Yeah, that's right. The Terminal List. Starring Chris Pratt. I think this show is really good. Really good. Strong. I think the plot is it's kind of got a little bit of tropes in it for sure. Like that sort of like Taken feel where you have, except this isn't a surprise. It's not like some middle-aged guy who surprises you like, oh my God, this guy's a badass. It's not like what's that one show with Bob Odenkirk? That movie. I can't think of it. But yeah, he does. Bob Odenkirk plays in a movie that is similar to like Taken, where he's an older guy and he becomes a badass all of a sudden. Well, he doesn't become one, but we don't know that he is. But this show is more like, we know this guy is a badass. Chris Pratt plays a Navy SEAL. He comes back from an operation that just went totally south, lost his whole team, and everything is just a mess. Like everything, and it starts there, and then everything just gets worse and worse. And he is pushed into a situation where he just goes on basically a killing spree. And he's sort of that anti-hero where he is killing, what are set up to be the bad guys. But there's a nice twist with sort of his mental health and why he is the way he is. He's struggling throughout the entire show. We've seen every episode except the last. We've seen, I think it's 8 episodes, so I think it's 8. But we've watched everything. We got the finale to check out. Probably watch that tomorrow. I can't wait to see it because every episode has been strong. To me, it started off like a little bit of like what's going on, it's like Jacob's Ladder almost, and then it starts to pick up with the action. And I think the choreography with like, and when I say choreography, I think it's this isn't like John Wick. This isn't like gun fu. This is real operating. Like he is an operator and he works with other operators, and they all just have like they just look badass. You could just tell that they have been trained. At least to me, it looks as though they've been trained by real military consultants, because just the way they move, the way they speak to each other, the dialogue that they use to communicate when they're when they're on an operation, when they're doing something, and they work together as like a unit. It's just really great. It's very grounded to me in that regard. And there's a lot of cool action scenes that just, like shockers, like, holy shit, I can't believe that. I will say this, there's definitely a couple of scenes that are total plot convenience. Like almost took me out of the episode. One of the episodes for sure. I was like, what? Like, okay, that's extremely convenient and lucky that everything worked out the way that it did, because that was one wrong thing happens and then there's no show. You know what I mean? So that happens. Every show, not every show, but I'd say 90% of movies and shows have to have some sort of convenience. So it's there, and it happens a couple of times. One time was only once where I was like, that kind of bugged me. But outside of that, I think the show is just kick-ass. I think it is just, it's one of those badass shows, and Chris Pratt, I think he's doing such a great job in this one. His acting, to me, I think he's what I would consider more of a well-rounded actor, because he can be the goofy Star-Lord in Guardians of the Galaxy, and then he can be the serious sort of badass in a show like this, and then he can be sort of an ordinary Joe in like The Passengers with Jennifer Lawrence, which I think is a good movie. I think he's proven that he's very versatile. He can perform under different circumstances and provide. There's a couple of scenes where he's like very emotional, and he's sad, and it's like it was kind of tugging at the heartstrings here. I was like, oh man, I feel terrible for this guy, but I think he's doing a great job. Another guy in here that I know is Taylor Kitsch. I think it's Kitsch, how you say it. He is his character. He is like, again, he's a little bit cliche. He's a little tropey, but Taylor just does a great job. He just does a really good job in his role, and I like his character. It's actually kind of a basic plot line. It really is. There are some twists, and there's a twist that happened like sort of right the last episode that we watched. It really wasn't a twist to me. Like, it wasn't like I was like, oh my God, no way. It was just something like, okay, it was surprising in that the reveal was a good reveal, but it wasn't something that I didn't see coming. So I don't know. I like I said, it's not breaking any ground when it comes to the story, but it's telling the story in a way where it feels different, and I like it. So definitely recommend this show. All right, so now we're going to move on to, let me change my notes here. So I'm just going to do this kind of quick. I have a bunch of notes here, but I think I'm just going to do like an actual full review of Sniper Elite 5. I think I'm on the second to last mission. I've dropped about, I was trying to do the math. I've probably dropped at least 40 hours, because on average, I'm dropping about 5 hours per mission, and I'm on the 8th one, but I know for sure that I ran over 6 hours on a couple of those missions. But Sniper Elite 5, I really like this game. I think it's a strong entry to the series. There are definitely some technical issues with this game. I mentioned this before when I was talking about Xbox's, what do they call it? The Xbox Bethesda Showcase. And even, Sony too, on some of their stuff that they're dropping, some of the games they've revealed. You know, a lot of people say that AA games are dead and that it's just AAA or indie and there's no in between anymore. I disagree. And I think Rebellion Studios, Rebellion is the developer, and they developed, I think, a really good game, and they've been developing these games for a while, and I think they're doing a really good job, but I don't think they have graduated to that AAA level game. Based on just the technical aspects of the game, I think that it sort of knocks it down because it's a little buggy in some regards, but more than that, there are some things visually about Sniper Elite 5 that it's not up to snuff. Like it doesn't have the sheen and the polish of like a Guardians of the Galaxy game, you know, or, it doesn't have like, it's not as technically solid as like Uncharted 4, you know, it doesn't have that sort of polish. And this game could have definitely used another 3 or 6 months in the oven, just polishing out details and refining sort of the graphics and pulling more out of it. But that's okay. I totally appreciate, like I said, I appreciate AA studios. I think that there is a home for AA studios, and I think that this game falls right in there. And it fits a need, I think, where the story is completely useless. The campaign is super fun, a lot of fun to play the campaign, but the story it's non-existent. It's essentially non-existent. They're forgettable characters. It's a little message. It's a little agenda. Some of the characters like, really? Okay. It's sort of annoying. However, the story's so vapid and lame, it just doesn't matter. I don't really care. You're just all I want to do is start the mission and get going and start, you know, turning heads into canoes and, you know, spotting my enemies and figuring out which way I'm going to go. And that's one thing that this game is really, the sandboxes for each mission are really well done. There's one mission that I kind of thought was a little too flat and a little too open, where I felt like I was kind of running around too much, you know, after I killed so many of the enemies. I was like, okay, that's kind of this big open place that I have to run back and forth in. But I think overall, I think this is a really solid game. I think it's well worth, you know, $60. I think it's well worth your time. It's fun. It doesn't have any sort of real emotional weight to it, but the gameplay itself, that loop, I think is a very rewarding loop. It's a little graphic, but to me, it's like, it still looks very video gamey. So yeah, it's graphic, and you see, you know, people's, you know, guys' brains get blown out of their heads, but it's like cartoony almost, because that's the thing. Like, it doesn't have that super realistic look to it. It looks like a game looks like a video game. Like, there's no confusing this game with like real life. It doesn't have that photorealism. There are certain shots and stuff with the dynamic lighting and stuff where it's like it looks really cool at certain angles, but then it looks just like a AA game in other situations. So, but that's all I'm going to really get into this one. I have, like I said, I have tons of notes here, but I'm not going to burn through them all. I think I'm just going to save that for a review all on its own. But Sniper Elite 5, I definitely recommend it. Definitely think it's a game worth playing. I'm enjoying it. I'm almost done with it. Hopefully I'll wrap it up, because it is, like I said, I've spent 40 hours in it. I'm kind of getting like, okay, I'm ready to kind of finish it up. So, but let's see. Let's move along here. So let's see. Get into the gaming topics here. So Forspoken, a game that I wasn't looking forward to this game in any way. It's by Square Enix. It's a PlayStation exclusive. It was supposed to come out in, let me see here. I got the article in front of me. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and read some of this. So it says Square Enix delayed its action-adventure role-playing game Forspoken into 2023. The publisher announced Wednesday, calling the move a, quote, strategic decision that will give developer Luminous Productions more time to polish the game. Forspoken was previously expected in October, but will now release on January 24, 2023. Quote, all game elements are now complete and development is in its final polishing phase, end quote. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. Quote, we would like to thank you for your continued support and patience on this journey. Your excitement for the game inspires us every day, and we cannot wait to share more about Forspoken with you later this summer. So this is, oh, here we go. Yeah. Did I say this? Maybe I forgot. I don't know. I'm getting old. Sometimes I forget what I say. It's coming out January 24th, 2023. So it's supposed to come out in October. Now it's coming out in January. To me, when they announced this game at it was a State of Play, this game did nothing for me. I just didn't care. I thought the thing that really turned me off about the game the most was the dialogue. The in-game dialogue was cringe. It was really bad. And I thought the gameplay looked okay. I just couldn't get a hold of what was going on. Like it's about a woman who steps through some sort of, she's Alice in Wonderland. She steps through the rabbit hole, and then she ends up in this alternate world, and she has all these powers and stuff, which not a bad premise at all, but I just was a little lost as to like, what the hell's going on? So, and like I said, that dialogue was shit. So, but if you're looking forward to this game, it is pretty. Like technically it's a pretty game, and the combat could be fun. It just has that sort of feel of like another open world game with not much to offer on the story side, but we'll see. All right. So next up, so this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a minute, and there's been so many weekends that I keep pushing, I keep moving, doing my podcast off because this is going on or that's going on. And then I kind of run out of time. Then I start cramming so quickly to put my notes together. And I don't like to come on here and talk about things when I haven't really had time to watch the videos or read the articles. So that's something I really struggle with. And my weeks have been so busy that I haven't really had a bunch of time to watch a lot of videos. I can listen to them while I'm at work, but I've been really busy at work. So my attention has really need to be like just on what I'm working on versus, sort of like there are some things that I can do at work where it's just like I spend a couple hours just, doing a task that's not super strenuous for my mind, but I've just been doing more things where I'm like crunching numbers and having to like think, and I'm not one of those people that can listen to something like a podcast or listen to something that I'm interested in and do my work. I just don't have that ability. So, but one of the things that I've been wanting to talk about for a couple of weeks now is this Diablo Immortal. Now, I think I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it 2 weeks ago, which is like the last time I did a show, or a podcast, I should say, not a show. But Diablo Immortal is a mobile game. It's a Diablo game, and obviously, but it's a mobile game for your phone. Now, the big thing is about this game is, number one, from every reviewer that I've listened to talk about this, the gameplay is supposed to be really fun. People really like this game. It's fun to play. Great. That's fun. No problem there. But the big controversy is the pay-to-win aspect of this game, where you have to pay real money, real currency out of your pocket to achieve the things. Like if you want to get ahead in this game, if you want to create your character and make your character super strong and get them at like max level so that you can run harder bosses and get more loot, because it's all about that loot. This game it's all about running around, killing monsters, watching them drop tons of loot and upgrading your gear. No problem there. But this game, Blizzard, who's the developer, they have decided to put basically a paywall in between the game and the upgrades. So getting better gear, getting better loot requires either years and years and years and years of time. And I mean that literally, because the aspects of upgrading your gear people have been crunching the numbers over for like a month now, because this game came out like a month ago. People have been crunching the numbers. Okay. So you have to spend ridiculous amounts of time with the chance of very, very like 1% or less chance of getting a better piece of loot after you hit a certain level. Like I don't know the level system. I don't know if it's like level 30 or level 40 or whatever, but once your character reaches a certain level, it's a wall. You're done. And you can only achieve getting better or more powerful or getting better gear by dumping real money into the game. Now, it started off, the first report when this game came out was that it was going to take over or around $100,000, 100,000 US dollars to achieve a full upgraded character that could just, be the baddest, have the best gear, run through the PvP, because there is a player versus player aspect to this game. They are the people who are paying all this money. They're going in and playing PvP, and they're smashing through everybody and just, killing everyone, having fun. But they've spent tens of thousands of dollars, up to $100,000. Yeah, that was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Now it seems that they have found that, and actually there's a term for this. They're saying there's it's called a whale. What do they call it? It's basically it's like gambling, so casinos, and they get a whale in there, someone who comes in there who has $1 million to spend at the craps tables, or $500,000 to play blackjack. That's like a whale, someone they're going to just dump tons of money in. So they have built in to the game where it's not just $100,000 that's going to get you to max. So apparently once you reach a certain level after spending, let's say $100,000, if you spend more money, it unlocks some sort of new set of ruins or some shit like that. And the latest number is $500,000 or more to get a character to max level. That's insane. That is fucking insane. However, there are people who are paying for this. So is it really Blizzard's fault? Is it really Diablo that's the problem? Or is it people who pay the money? I'm going to say something very controversial, and a lot of gamers don't like what I'm about to say. I don't have a problem with pay to win games, because pay to win is a choice. You can buy the game and you can pay money to achieve more in the game, or you can not buy the game and don't give any money. It's that simple. It's a choice. I understand that there are aspects, and there is a piece to this that the caveat for me, that where I say this is where where I draw the line for myself, is the loot boxes. Loot boxes, in my opinion, are gambling. They are ostensibly a slot machine, where you put in a certain amount of money and you're going to play the odds, and you might get something based on a percentage, and the more you pay, the more the chances you're going to win. It's just that same sort of the sound that the game developers put in there, the visuals that they put in there. They know what they're doing. Okay, they sound like slot machines. But if you take the loot boxes, just take the loot boxes away for just a second. I don't have a problem with pay to win games, because the people who are going to dump the money, they're going to dump the money no matter what. Okay. I worked with a guy who used to play this game, like Forge of Empires or one of those games like that, where, you build up your town and you build up your archers, and it's like set medieval times. So it's like you get like archers and swordsmen, and, and you get, catapults or whatever. And you build up your fort. That's the word I was searching for. You build up like a really strong fort, and you can build faster and you can get better shit if you pay money. Okay. I worked with a guy who was really, really into this game, and he told me in 1 month, he spent around $1,500. Okay. We're just regular people. We're just regular workers. He was working next to me, and we weren't like banking or anything. So trust me, I don't think he was rolling though. Maybe he was, I don't know. But regardless, this guy he dropped like $1,500, and it was like nothing for him to do that. Like he was like, oh yeah, I spent he would go on his lunch break and he'd drop like $200, just like that, like nothing. Like, and he'd come back in, and I was like, what for? Because we're getting ready for, a raid and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, he took it very seriously. And he was in his clan, and his clan was like the number 1 or 2 clan in the entire world, like literally the globe. And it was part of his, he treated it like a job. Like it was something that he did. He had to spend a certain amount of hours every day, spend a certain amount of money to achieve and to stay in his clan. So There are people out there who are going to do that no matter what. Listen, I don't care what he does. And I didn't have a problem with it. I was surprised. I was shocked, but it's his money. I don't tell anybody how to spend their money because I don't want to be told how to spend mine. So people who spend, 100, 200, 1,000, 5,000 on a video game, that's whatever. That's your business. I don't have a problem with that. It's a choice. Again, it's a choice that is being made. And I think that there's a lot of onus that is being thrown back at the developer. Like, how could you do this? I can tell you how they do it. It's because motherfuckers are paying for it. That's how they're doing it. If no one was spending the money, they would not do it. It's that simple. There's no, and there's, it's not like there's this sort of secret, like, no one knows that they're spending the money. Like, they don't know. Like, maybe when you buy the game or maybe when you download the game on your phone, you're like, oh, this game is fun. And it's like, wait, what do I have to pay? $5 and I get this, or $50 I get that. I'm like, okay, I'll pay $50. And it's like, wait a minute. Some people might go into that and not really know, like, wait a minute, I just keep dumping money. So I'm done playing this game. Okay, you learned your lesson. Now that's how you've officially learned how a pay-to-win game is. But it's still a choice. It's still a choice, and people who want to spend the money, spend the damn money. It's your money. Spend it any way you want. I think that I'm hearing tons of like, oh, Blizzard is a piece of shit, and how could they do this? And they're predators, and they're preying on the weak and all this other shit. And it's like, yeah, well, so should Vegas shut down? So we should just close Vegas down? That place shouldn't exist anymore. Should casinos shut those down? Sports betting, let's kill that. Let's just, you know what I mean? It's like, be careful what you say there, because we're talking about adults. Okay. Now, where the loot box thing and that whole line that I'm talking about, when we start talking about children playing the game, okay, that's different, because children, by law, they are under a guardian supervision until they're 18. Mother, dad, grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, whatever. Okay. They like for them to be exposed to that. That's where I think it's like, okay, I'm not okay with that. That causes an issue for me. That's where it's like, and again, it's like, well, parents should, or the guardian should be saying like, well, you can't play this game. Sorry, kid. I know hey, you want to spend your $20 that you get a week for your allowance, or your $30 or whatever you get for an allowance. You want to spend all that money on a video game. You've earned that money. You've done your chores. You got, straight A's or a B above or whatever on your report card. You've earned that money. It's your money to do with as you wish. That's different. But there's some people out there who are making the arguments like, oh, well, there's kids who are taking their mom's credit card, their dad's credit card, and they're just spending like $2,000 on a credit card. And it's like, well, isn't that the parents' job to watch that shit? That's not Blizzard's job. That's not a developer's job to monitor parents, to monitor guardians of children. That's not their job. That's the fucking guardian's job. That's the fucking parent's job. Okay. And again, I know that that's controversial, because I've listened to this for a long time. I've listened to this argument for a really long time. People saying like, I can't believe this is so predatory. I can't believe they do this. It's terrible. They're preying on the weak and all this other shit. And it's like, you have to put some sort of responsibility on the player to some degree. Okay. You can't just, I think there's just like this idea where there's no accountability or responsibility for the player. There is. And if you don't like something, do not pay for it. If you do not like what the product that they're putting out, don't pay for it. Okay. I don't, if there is a game that I don't like, here's an example. So I was a big fan of Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3. Love those games. Had lots of fun. Lots of hours spent on those games. Okay, when EA and DICE came out and made this sort of like the stupid sort of political social agenda message with Battlefield 5, and they were sort of talking shit to gamers and calling them names because they didn't like certain things about the fucking game, which were like serious. They were genuine complaints about the World War I, and like the characters in the game. Was like, this doesn't make any sense. They were being branded as like chauvinists and all this other crap, and it's like, wait, what? Fuck you. Like, fuck you, DICE, and fuck you, EA. So I didn't buy their game. I knew right then. I was like, nah, if you're going to talk to me like that, I mean, I don't have to buy your game. That's fine. I'll sit this one out. That's cool. You do your thing. I'll do mine. There are other games to play. You're not the only game out there. DICE, with Battlefield. You can make that choice, and I encourage people to make that choice. If you don't like the product as a customer, if you don't like the product that a company is providing you, do not buy it, do not pay for it, do not support it. I just don't agree with the notion that the company is the only person that's responsible, because I'm telling you right now, if they were not making money off microtransactions and loot boxes, they would not be doing it. Okay? So if you're going to, if you want to protest and be like, you know what, hey, you want to speak your mind, and I don't have any problem with that. I don't have any problem with that point of view. I get it. I mean, I don't think it's entirely valid, but I understand that point of view. I get it. The perspective is not lost on me. For me personally, I thought about it for a really long time, because this is something that's going on for years and years in gaming, and I was kind of on that fence of like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I was on the other side. Like, you know what? Screw these guys. These guys are pieces of shit. Why are you doing this? Pay to win, blah, blah, blah. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm an adult. Like, I'm a grown ass man. I just won't pay for it. I just won't participate, and they won't get my money. But for me to just say they're doing something to me because they decided to develop a game a certain way, and because they're taking that game away from me because I don't want to play a game that they've made, then that's kind of childish in a way. That's to me, it's like, well, just don't play the game. Don't buy the game. Don't participate. But it's not like that. It's like, well, no, I want them to change the way they're making their game so that I can be included. And it's like, no, that's not how the world works. And I'm very much like, that's one of the things that, I think a lot of people, they lose the notion of like how the world really works and how life in general is. When your feelings get hurt, or you get sad because you can't join because it's too expensive for you, then that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. It sucks, but it's reality. I would love to just fly to Dubai and drive Ferraris and, Bugattis and, take a crap in a fucking gold toilet, but I can't. Because I'm not that person. I don't have millions and millions of dollars to spend. And then for the people that do, who want to spend $250,000 on a Diablo Immortal just so they can run roughshod over the PvP section of a game, so they can laugh and be on a stream and like show everyone like, oh my God, look at my character. I spent $275,000, and they're just gonna rub that in people's faces. Yeah, it's kind of a douchebag thing to do, but okay, it's their money. They want to spend their money to be a douche. Don't click on the stream. Don't watch the guy. Don't support the guy or the girl. But people don't. That's not how it works. Everyone feels like they're entitled to be involved in that shit. And they immediately say like, well, it's Blizzard's fault. No, Blizzard, this is predatory. They shouldn't be doing this. Like, well, don't pay for it. Don't pay for the shit. And people don't feel that way. And I get it. I totally understand. That's just my take. But one of the extensions of this issue with Activision is the fact that this is now soon to be a Microsoft corporation. Blizzard, Activision, they are working this deal out with Microsoft. It's going to happen. I don't think there's anything. I've seen a couple of little stories, like a couple of headlines that say like, oh no, the FTC is going to shoot down this deal, or is Microsoft and Activision really going to merge, blah, 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 or are they actually going to buy them? It's going to happen. Trust me. Don't worry. That's a done deal. But, I've heard for a lot of creators, and I've listened to a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of comments about Uncle Phil at Xbox and how he's going to lay the fucking smack down and he's going to end all of this bullshit. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not going to happen. Diablo Immortal will still exist. And Diablo Immortal, the Reckoning, or The Dead Rises, or Part 2, or whatever the fuck they want to call the next iteration of Diablo Immortal, it will come out and it will be the same. Trust me. Microsoft isn't looking at this and being like, oh, this is not right. We can't treat gamers like this. This is predatory. We can't do that. That's not what they're thinking, people. They want to make money. And if they were to shut this down, I will come on here and fucking give a standing ovation. I will give a 5-minute monologue of just how much I respect Uncle Phil and Xbox. Like, hey, you guys really put your money where your mouth is. You said, hey, we don't want the fucking money. We don't believe in this, so we're going to stop it. That's great. Great. Good for them. But it ain't going to happen. I'm telling you right now, not going to happen. So, but where does this go for them though? Because this doesn't look good. You know, this really doesn't. I mean, because like I said, I'm definitely in the minority with my opinion when it comes to pay to win. You know, and one thing I do want to say, and I want to throw this in there real quick. This game, this Diablo Immortal, it's using an IP that has, they've had Diablo 1, 2, 3, and I think Reaper of Souls is more of like an extension. So technically we'll say 3 games. So these games have been around for a really long time, but Blizzard used the IP and the gameplay and all that stuff and the same, everything is the same minus the money shit. And they put it on mobile and they decided to make it a pay to win. Okay, listen, to me, I don't play games on mobile. It's not really my thing. So I don't really care. Had no interest in playing this game anyways. Now, Diablo 4, they had an extended like gameplay and like a gameplay trailer, and they walked through how the game's going to work and the mechanics and shit. That game looks really fucking cool. I'm really excited to play the game. I will be buying that game. If they throw the same microtransactions into Diablo 4, I will not pay for it. I will not buy the game. I won't pay for it. Now, it happens all the time where games come out and they throw the transactions in after the fact, and then it gets, it becomes a big uproar. Hey, and then I'll back away. Trust me, if Blizzard thinks that this guy is going to pay $100,000 to get a wizard to level 80, and so I can rule the PvP space and look really rad on a screen, not in real life, just on a screen in this virtual world. If they think I'm going to spend $100,000 on this shit, you got another thing coming. And I'm going to make that decision. If that's the route they go, I'll make the decision to, if I buy the game and there's no microtransactions and then they turn them on and then there's like, oh, well, you're going to hit a paywall at some point. No, okay. Delete my save, delete the game, cut my losses at $60-$70, move on. Okay, I've spent plenty of money. I've spent lots of money on games, I should say, that turn out to be stinkers. Just turn out to be games where I'm like, this kind of sucks. I wish I wouldn't have spent that 50. I wish I wouldn't have spent that 60. This game really isn't what I thought it was. It kind of sucks and I'm not happy with it. Hey, it happens. But I'm not going to drop $5,000 and I'm like, man, I got to walk away from this. I can't believe it. What they did to me was so wrong. They used me. It's like, no, you made a choice. I made a decision. Okay? Now, the loot box part of that, to me, I think that's, like I said, that was kind of my line because just the way it's built, it literally is a slot machine. And I think that there's going to be legislation that's going to come down at some point. I think the law will get involved. The government will get involved to sort of regulate it until they can get some sort of money out of it. Then the government will be fucking happy with it. So just the way it is. It's like casinos. You know what I mean? It's like casinos get built. People go in, drop their paychecks on them. Ain't nobody fucking crying out for them. So to me, I just feel like this is a new thing in gaming. It's only been around for about 10 years or so, and maybe not even that long. So I think we're going through sort of those early stages of the complaints and the people who have the opinions, and they're like, they're blaming the evil corporation without taking into to account that they're going to put whatever they can into a game, whatever we will as gamers let them get away with. So if you don't want this to happen, do not let them get away with it. Simple solution. All right. Let's move on to the next topic here. Okay, so I noticed, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's like a summer thing, but there's a lot of trailers that have been dropping. One that I really wanted to get into here, but there's been a few. The one that I wanted to mention for sure, I saw this on the PlayStation channel, was RoboCop. I guess there's a RoboCop game coming out, and as someone who was a fan of the very first RoboCop back in the 80s. When I saw that movie was way above what I should have been watching as a kid. But, I was it was the 80s. My parents, they let me watch a lot of crazy shit. Children of the Corn, you know what I mean? Crazy shit. regardless, love my parents. I turned out just fine. But RoboCop, to me, that is it's a very iconic character, and even as a youngster, when I watched that, I thought it was so cool. His gun was so awesome, just the sound that it made, and the plot of the story. It was cool. This sort of dystopian, futuristic. Not really. I wouldn't say. I guess I shouldn't say futuristic, but it was somewhat futuristic. It wasn't like a cyberpunk or like some sort of sci-fi, but it definitely had the feels of like that. Detroit is all burned down. It kind of had the same feel as Predator 2, how they made LA look, where it's just like a fucking war zone, like it's Fallujah, on the streets of LA. But I really liked the movie, and this trailer actually looks pretty damn good in regards to the IP. Now, in regards to like the game, it looked okay. Like it didn't blow me away. I was more of like, oh wow, it's RoboCop. What are they going to do? And I was wondering if it was going to be third person or first person. So it's a first person shooter, which I think works because of one of the big draws of the movie was the viewpoint that we as viewers got to see through RoboCop's eyes. So sorry, I had to move my mic there. But the view of like his visor scanning, people and, identifying names and shit. Again, this was back in the 80s. So, when you can see through his eyes and we see what RoboCop is seeing, it was always so cool. It's like, oh man, that's going to come in the future, flying cars and, hoverboards and all this other shit. And it's like, nah, that's not happening. But regardless, I really loved the franchise. I'm probably one of the few people that actually liked RoboCop 2. I thought it was cool. I thought it was it was a good extension of the first movie. There were things about it that I thought I didn't like, but it still was sort of that, gory, shoot 'em up, robots banging into each other and just having these wars and shit. And I thought it was cool. But this game, to me, I think it was just a little more nostalgia that kind of pulled me in. I think the game looked okay. I need to see more, but the oh god, what's his name? Oh, I can't think of the guy's name. Let me see. Let me pull it up on my phone real quick because it looks just like the actor from the original movie. Let's see. I can see his face. I just cannot think. That movie came out in 1987. Jesus, your boy was 8 years old. Now what's his name? Peter Weller. That's his name. This looked like, because we see RoboCop's face, and it looks just like Peter Weller. So, and I don't know if it's using, I don't recall hearing the voice, but if they're using his face, I'm pretty sure they're going to use his voice. But he's an older cat now, and his voice is very different. He had a small role in Sons of Anarchy, and he was really old in that movie. So, yeah, because he was like in his, I don't know, late 20s, early 30s back in 87. So he's up there now. But game looks okay. The other one that kind of caught my eye was this game called Chant. And I think what pulled me in was the story. It's like a really cool looking, it's like a woman who goes on a retreat or I think it's a retreat, but she goes to this island and it's sort of like this cultish sort of feel where they're all like sort of hippies and these robes and shit. And then they go into this, it looks like a gigantic, like gym, like a jungle gym, we had like a jungle gym like this at one of the parks by my house, like this thing that they're in. It's like how do I say this? It's kind of got it looks like it's a dome, but it's like bars, and it looks like a really oversized like jungle gym, like something I would crawl around on when I was a kid, back when those things were still allowed on playgrounds and teeter-totters and that type of shit. But that shit's all been outlawed. But regardless, I thought it was cool, like a cool setup. They're inside this dome, this circle, and they're doing like a ritual. And then shit just goes all wrong. And then monsters come out. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's like, if they've reached through like a portal or something like that, and it's unexpected, or did the cult leader know this is what they were going to do? But I thought it was a really interesting IP, like just what I was watching, and I was like, whoa, this is really interesting. It almost make like a cool movie, and that's what it seemed a little bit like. I couldn't tell exactly what the gameplay was going to be. It looked like a little bit of melee combat, almost like a Resident Evil type in first person, but I don't know. I thought the story looked cool, but there's been tons of like little reveals that have been dropping. The big one for me, and the one that I want to kind of spend a second on, is a game called Skull and Bones, made by Ubisoft. So this game was revealed in like 2017, I think it was, and there's sort of a little bit of history here. So Assassin's Creed, which is developed by Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed 3, which was not that good of a game. It was okay. It had a lot of problems. There was some. It was just too bloated. They had their scope was way too big. However, one of the things that came from that game was naval combat, where you could get on a ship, like an old, like say sailboat, like a pirate type ship, and you go out on these missions, and you'd have to do like battle with other ships and stuff, and do these little escort missions. And it was like they were very small missions, but they were so much fun in the Assassin's Creed game, and it was very different. Like that was not a thing. Assassin's Creed was all about, hiding in bushes, blending in with the crowd, setting up, your attacks on targets to assassinate them and escape and all this other shit. And this was like a total like weird, like, what is this? Why are we on a ship? But it was just fun. Like the combat, what they did with the naval combat was really good. So it actually was so good that they created an Assassin's Creed around the naval combat called Black Flag. And you play a pirate back in the Blackbeard, the I can't think of any other major characters from that era, but sort of that fantasy island characters where it's all about, the British and, the Spanish, they're coming through and they're wiping out all the piracy back of like, I'm not a history buff, so I don't know exactly the era and sort of a time in real life, but it's like Nassau, where it's like the famous island where it's a pirate island and shit. To me, I thought this game was great. I thought it was so much fun. I really loved it, enjoyed the hell out of it, spent endless amounts of hours on that game. I want to say I was well over 100 hours on that game. I had so much fun. They did such a good job of making first of all, the map was huge, especially at that time. And there was just so many areas where you can go and you could get off the boat, and you had missions that are inside like Kingston and different towns and shit. You had to go spy on people and obviously assassinate people, and you're fighting, against other pirates. You're fighting against, the Templars. It sort of was a perfect blend of everything that I just loved. Absolutely loved. I love just cruising around on my ship, listening to my crew sing shanties. It was so cool. It's so memorable too. Now, I think that I heard something on another podcast, and it really struck a nerve with me. I heard someone say that the ship combat or the naval combat of Assassin's Creed it's looked at and it's overhyped. It's like rose-tinted glasses. People think it was better than what it really was, when really it was just this basic bitch sort of shit. I fucking 100% fucking agree with that. And I think I have a pretty good case to prove that point. When you look at Assassin's Creed, okay, open world, third person, combat has maybe evolved here and there. The loot system has evolved maybe here and there, but the game play itself has been ostensibly the exact same time. Every single game has been the same. The difference, the one outlier, was Black Flag. There's I don't know, I couldn't even tell you how many first-person shooters are on the market right now. Like Call of Duty, like Battlefield, like Halo. How many third-person, just open-world games? Assassin's Creed, Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima, Cyberpunk, Grand Theft Auto. Just, the list goes on and on. How many third-person, like shooter combat games, like Gears of War, The Division, Okay. How many racing games are out there? Tons. Okay. How many naval combat games are on the market right now? I bet you can't fucking name more than two. I'm dead serious. Because the gameplay itself is not something that's normal. Like it's really abnormal. There's not a lot of games like this. And for Assassin's Creed fans, you know, I'm not like some fucking fan club, and I don't send messages and join forums and shit like that just to sit around and talk about Assassin's Creed. But I have many friends who have played the Assassin's Creed franchise, and usually it's Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed 4 that are their quote favorite games. Okay, Black Flag is a fantastic game, and I think it's very nearsighted to be like, oh, that's just overhyped and it's rose-tinted glasses and hindsight's 2020, yada yada, whatever fucking fancy way you want to spin that sort of take. But there are no naval combat games out there like this at all that I know of. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can go on Steam and there's probably a fucking million of them. But that's not a game that's like very normal. That sort of gameplay just isn't a normal thing. And the thing that made it so special was not that it was just an Assassin's Creed game and it was so different, but it was well done. Like it really was. It was fun. It was well done. It took, it wasn't something where you just button mash and blah blah blah. No, you had to like steer your ship and watch the winds on your HUD to see which way the winds are blowing, or else you could turn yourself into the wrong direction and then you'd be a sitting duck for a broadside shot from your enemies. There's storms and weather elements that could cause the wave to go up and, really start white capping, and it would affect your shots. It would affect how your ship turned. There was, some kind of like these little mini tornado type twister things on the water, and like little cyclones. And, there were things that involved, there were mines that you could run over, there were things that were going on, a lot of things at one time that you sort of had to manage in your head while you were playing the game. And it made it really engaging and really fun. And the gameplay loop was really fun. And I think that this game, Skull and Bones, which is a derivative of Black Flag, I think it has the potential to be something really cool, but it also has the Ubisoft stench that it looks like it could really fucking suck. Okay. But I think the point that I really want to drive home here is that naval combat is not overhyped. It's not, looked back on as like something that's great when it really wasn't. No, it really was. It really was really good. It was really fun. It was really good, really engaging. And there's a reason why people have been asking for it in an Assassin's Creed game. Now, Ubisoft, in all their infamous wisdom, decided to do a complete offshoot, a game all on its own, and call it Skull and Bones. And when they revealed the gameplay trailer, like I said, I think it was 2017 at E3, it kind of came off flat. You could tell they were trying to enhance it and make it a little more complex, but it didn't hit well. It just didn't land well. Number one is because no one knew what the hell was going on. And the questions just immediately started to come out. Can you get off your ship? Can you customize your ship? Do you get to recruit your crew, is it a standard? Do I get to go to different cities and ports? Where is it located? There's all these questions, and they were all valid, very valid questions that I think Ubisoft they really did. They went radio silent on this game, and that kind of leads me to the next reason why I think this game could be bad is that it's been in development for so long, and that's not a good sign. This game is, and I don't know if this game has been in development hell necessarily. I just think that it's been too long and they've been too silent, and now all of a sudden it just shows out. They just literally just crap it out. And so I'm worried. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but I am definitely intrigued. I want to know what this game is. Now, I think the pieces that are missing, which is the Assassin's Creed lore, the franchise, the way you maneuver, the way you control your character and the combat, I think that it's really going to sell this game really fucking short. And I think that's Ubisoft's fault. Ubisoft should have, I definitely think they should have made a sequel to Black Flag, 1000%. And I think they screwed up by not doing that. And I think that, I think that they've pushed their chips in on Skull and Bones, and I don't think there's no way back now. Like, they've probably spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this thing by now. Because like I said, revealed in 2017, that was revealed. So that game was in development prior to that, at least 2 years, so 2015. This is 2022. We're talking like 6-7 years at least they've been in development, and they're just now, and the game has not, this isn't a game that they've been like punching out these like drip feeding content, and getting people excited. They don't really talk about it. Every once in a while, like once a year, we might see or hear something. Some rumor mills might fucking like stir up, but then that's it. It just goes away. So I was actually really surprised to see an actual trailer. They walk you through, tell you what you can do. I'm not exactly sold on the way the game is set up. They're doing like this sort of open world, make your own story type of shit. And it's like, no. Like I'm really tired of that. I'm really tired of that sort of speak, that sort of make your own story. The game is what you decide the game. It's like, no, fuck you. You're the developer. You develop a game. I'm here to play your game. I'm not here to make up my own fucking game. Okay? I want to be told a story, and I want to be shown gameplay mechanics that are engaging and pull me in and get me on the treadmill. Kind of like when I'm playing Sniper Elite 5. The gameplay really pulled me in. The story's total shit. The characters are lame, but the gameplay pulled me in, and that's just fine. I've been on the treadmill, like enjoying this game. I don't think that this game. I don't think this game is going to be successful. If it isn't successful, I think it's because of the off the ship part of it. Because you can get off your ship, you can walk around, but from what they showed, there is no combat. You will not be fighting with your hands. You will not be fighting with muskets or swords or knives or anything like that. It looks like you're just going to be wandering around at these sort of towns and hubs where you can pick up missions and buy gear and whatever and just purchase shit, barter. That's it. Now the on the water shit looked really cool. The combat, it could be really fun. It really could. They could really flesh out this gameplay and make it something special. But I feel like the off the ship stuff just looks like a walking sim, and it's going to really pull the game down. The other thing that I think is going to pull the game down, which I laughed when I saw it. So there are resource mining, which is common in a lot of games nowadays, but you have to mine for resources to, for like wood and stuff for your ship. And there's other things, I guess, like they showed a couple of things like minerals and stuff like rock. And they show your ship pull up next to and the whole ship, this big sailboat pulls up next to like a palm tree. And then you see like someone's pressing E or they're pressing X or some shit like that on their controller. And it's like mining the tree, and you can see the tree sort of shaking and flashing. And then all of a sudden the tree falls over and you reap the rewards, the wood or whatever the materials from that. To me, that looked fucking terrible. And I just wish that wasn't there. It looks so stupid. And then they show you mining for like shit on the side of a mountain. It's like, really? So you're actually using your ship to mine for shit? You couldn't have a meta game where you have to send guys off and put them, like maybe equip them with a certain amount of gear, weaponry or something like that, so that they can go and drop them off, and like a 6-man crew that goes on an island, something a la fucking Brotherhood, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, where you have the meta game where you send your troops off to go mine for something, and the better equipped they are, the more likely they're going to be successful. And one of them may die, 2 of them may die. You can send them to really hostile territory and they all could get wiped out and you can lose part of your crew. How cool would that have been? Like a meta game inside of this game would have been so ideal for that sort of mining stuff, And I just, that part to me, I thought that looked really fucking bad. So, like I said, I think this game could be something, but it just got that stank on it. Like that Ubisoft, they just make stupid fucking decisions. Like, why isn't there Assassin's Creed 6 or 7, whatever, Black Flag, and be in a totally different part of the world, something. And they use the water mechanics and being around on a boat and stuff in Assassin's Creed Origins and in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but it wasn't the same. Like it didn't have like the naval combat and shit like that you want. It just didn't have the same thing that Black Flag had. And I just think I think it's a big miss. I really do. It kind of, and I heard this from somebody else, and I thought it when I was watching it, but I've heard this from other people. It definitely has like that sort of, it looks like Ubisoft's version of Sea of Thieves, which is an Xbox game. Sea of Thieves, to me, the art style isn't my thing. It's very cartoony looking, but it has its crowd, and I know someone who's played it. Him and his girlfriend played it, spent some time with it. They've had some fun. He's shared some stories with me and shit about it, and it doesn't sound terrible, but it never really did anything for me. So, but this game, I don't know. Is Skull and Bones going to be Sea of Thieves? I don't think so, because I believe in Sea of Thieves you can actually have combat. Now, again, I have to go back and watch the trailer, because I watched it one time, and it's like a 7.5 minute trailer. For some reason in my mind, I just remember watching them. They were actually dressing up the characters and putting on gear, and it was like, oh yeah, decorate your character. Basically, you're dressing up a doll and your character and putting them in, swanky ass clothes and shit like that. No problems there, but I just, for some reason, I want to say there's no combat, but I don't want to be a liar, but I don't think there is. So I'm just going to stick with that. I'll go back and watch it again. Maybe we'll talk about it next week. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that one. Again, interesting idea. I think Ubisoft missed the mark with not having it be an Assassin's Creed game. I think with where Assassin's Creed combat and where the loot system was with Origins and Odyssey, with that combat, that loot system, specifically in Odyssey, and then the naval combat from Black Flag, and then some of the meta game from like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, man, you could have, and like Assassin's Creed 2, like base building, man, you could have had, Ubisoft could have made the fucking, like, the Assassin's Creed wet dream for fans, and they just didn't. They're, I don't know, they're fucking stupid. So, all right, let's move along here. So, where were we at here? Let's see, I talked about Forspoken. So the last, there was something I was going to talk about Microsoft again. I'll come back to that next week. It's just more, there's just some more information coming out regarding 343 and Halo, and how they're talking about putting possible microtransactions into the Master Chief Collection. And I want to do a little more research on this one, because it's Microsoft and their bullshit, and there's just more to say, and I also need to finish. I did read some of that Kotaku article about Fallout 76, and that sort of mashes into this conversation, the whole topic in general, just talking about Microsoft, the studios, Bethesda, and where they are right now as a whole. And this sort of, when I saw the microtransactions in the Master Chief Collection, I was like, what the fuck? Like, really? Like they just don't need that. Like I said, I'm not I'm not a fan of microtransactions, but if they're in the games, they're in games. And, I don't have to pay for them, so I don't really care. But microtransactions are a negative for gamers, and just like generally speaking, gamers do not like microtransactions. And like I said, I'm not a fan of them. I don't want them in games, but if they're in games, I don't have to use them. Now, when games set them up to where you have to use them, I have a problem with that. I do have an issue with that, and then I'm just like, all right, I'll disengage. I'm done, So, but that's just my choice. But I just thought, man, Microsoft, like, what the fuck? Like, how do you allow 343? And I have thoughts about 343 as well, just where they are right now. But how do you allow them to throw even that ugly word for gamers into, the last bastion of Microsoft franchises, which is Halo? And Halo is they're just fucking, it's in the ringer right now. Everything that's going on with Halo right now, it's not good. And the shitty ass show that they greenlit, that they allowed to be put out into the fucking world, and then to just now have this happen, I just feel like Microsoft just keeps stepping on their own toes. And yeah, I'll get into it next week. I do want to get into these last couple of things here before I sign off. God of War Ragnarok finally has a release date, November 9th, 2022. Now, I gotta say this. Okay.
number one, I've been looking forward to this game for a long time. Okay. As I said before, I loved the first game. I bailed out towards the end strictly because I was playing other games, and I'm not really the best person for like finishing games, and I can easily be distracted by other games. Sue me. But I did finish it, had a great ending, and I think the game was spectacular. I think that the thing that I'm looking forward to, and with this date, I'm looking at the date right now, is it's like perfect for Thanksgiving. Perfect. It comes out a couple weeks before Thanksgiving. So, play it for a couple of weekends, but then I'm going to have like 4 days to just grind this game and just really dive into it. And I doubt I will, but I might even just save it for I might buy it, play a little bit on the weekend, and then play a little bit more the next weekend, and just sort of save it for that Thanksgiving weekend. But I'm really looking forward to this game because I just want this game. I'm going to do everything in my power, my mental capacity to play this game from beginning to end, no breaks, no nothing. And I don't care how long it takes me because, I shot myself in the foot by stopping the first God of War to play Red Dead Redemption 2, to play Spider-Man. I just did. I think Far Cry 4 came out around that time. No, was it Far Cry 5? Regardless, doesn't matter. I was playing other games, got distracted. And I feel bad for that because I was so close to the end and I didn't even realize it. But I'm going to finish this game. Looking forward to this game. I think it looks fantastic. I think graphically, the story, I can't wait to see where we're going to go with the story. We're picking up with Kratos and Atreus, and obviously Atreus is older now. We see, oh man, I can't remember her name. The character from the first game, she shows up in the trailer, and we already know that she's got it out for Kratos for what happened at the end of the first game. And if you haven't played the game, you should go play it. I'm not going to spoil it, but regardless, go play that game, finish that game. But how that game ends, she's got beef with Kratos, and she's going to be a problem. But the reveal trailer was pretty short. That had the release date on it. It was a really short, but it was so cool the way they did this sort of this 90-second trailer, and we see a fucking wolf that's like 6 stories tall, like a full-on timber wolf just standing over the trees. It looks so badass. But I'm really excited for this game. I can't wait to play this game. The other thing that I want to talk about the date, and to me, this is kind of a nothing burger, but a lot of people have been saying it, so maybe it is something, but to me, it's not much. But Starfield, which got delayed earlier this year, or just I don't know, a couple months ago, whatever, it was supposed to come out on 11/11/2022, and for some reason, a lot of people are like, "Ooh, is this a dig? Did Sony take a shot at Xbox and at Bethesda by putting the game so close to 11/11?" It's like, I don't think so. I mean, listen, I'll be the first to admit, Sony really enjoys trolling Microsoft. They've done it for a really long time. Basically, since the Xbox One PS4 launch, Sony has sort of had their way in the marketing space because, let's face it, Microsoft was making and has made mistake after mistake, and Sony capitalized on that early on, within that first launch window. They were taking some shots at them openly, and fuck it, it is what it is. Microsoft had egg on their face, and they capitalized on it. I got no problem with that. Business is business, but I just don't see this as a thing. I don't know. It didn't even dawn on me. I know when Starfield was going to release, but I didn't see this and ooh, this is 2 days away from when Starfield was. Was this a shot? And I was like, no, I don't think so. But who knows? Who knows? These corporations, they like to fuck with each other. Microsoft tweets out bullshit about Sony. They were talking shit on Sony. What was that for? It's about their console and about having, it's 4K gaming and blah blah blah. And Microsoft does it too. That's the point. Microsoft and Sony, they take shots at each other. They like to take little digs at each other. So it's not above, Sony to do this. I'm not saying they didn't, but to me, it just didn't. It was nothing. I didn't think much about it, but I keep seeing it. People keep bringing it up. Oh, they just took a shot at Xbox. It's I don't think so, but maybe they did. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was, and I, this is like, where are all the haters? Where's all those fucking loudmouths? David Jaffe, the commenters. It was so funny because I love the console bickering. This shit's fun. It's fun to read. It's fun to watch. I like it. I listen to Xbox channels. I listen to PlayStation channels. I listen to them both give me their subjective opinions. And, I have my issues with Xbox and I have things that I really love about PlayStation. I think that there's definitely an argument to be made, an objective argument to be made that Sony is doing a lot of the right things. They're not doing everything perfectly. They're not perfect. They're doing more right things than they are wrong. And Microsoft they're just making mistakes. They have made a lot of mistakes. They continue to make those mistakes. That being said, I still enjoy the digs. I enjoy the capping back at each other. I don't have any problem with that. It's competition. It is what it is. And fans are going to be fans. Fucking Raider fans don't like fucking Bronco fans. Chiefs fans, we don't like fucking, Charger fans. That's just the way it is. Okay? I don't have any issue with that. But man, where did they go? because I watched that video and I went through the comments, started scrolling through, and then I listened to a couple of podcasts talk about the release date, and I scrolled through the comments like I always do, and I didn't hear any shit. I didn't see all of the fucking gloating and just the shit talking from Team Green. Because when Starfield got delayed, one of the first arguments that I saw, that I heard, that I read, Xbox delayed Starfield. Who gives a shit? Because God of War ain't making it. Where's the release date? God of War ain't coming out this year. Ha ha! I can't wait for you fucking Sony ponies to be crying in your soup, and I'm gonna be drinking your tears when you guys don't get God of War this year because it ain't coming. David Jaffe, the loudmouth douchebag who fucking had to come out, and I just don't like this guy. I just do not like this guy. He rubs me the wrong way. He seems like a little mouthpiece, and I don't know. He kind of has that punk attitude to me. But he came out and made a comment talking shit. And he even said something along the lines of, like, if I'm not mistaken, he made some sort of bet like, if this game comes out this year, I'm going to do something crazy. Where are these motherfuckers at? Where did you go? Because I didn't see anybody. All I saw in the comment sections was like, oh, I'm really excited for this game. Oh my God, it looks so good. It's a lot of fucking love for the game. I can't wait to play this game, and then listening to Xbox, people talk about it. It's like, they're like, oh man, this game looks really cool. And oh, this is good. This is a good thing. This is coming out this year. Now we have that fall game. It's like, hey, wasn't that a thing? Wasn't that an argument that I heard on Xbox channels and I heard it on PlayStation channels, that why is Sony being so quiet with God of War? This game isn't coming out. Oh, this doesn't bode well. This doesn't look right. This seems wrong. This game isn't coming out. And then those videos, those comment sections were on fire. They were fucking just, people were just coming out the woodwork and just going after Sony fans, just going after God of War fans, like, you guys. And then not only that, it was like, let's pile on. Oh my God, Kratos jumped in the boat just like he did the last time, so it's the same fucking game. He's got the same wood paddle in his hand. Oh, they reused assets. It's the same fucking game. Oh, you Sony ponies, you guys will clap at anything. And it's like, really? Really? So game of the year, God of War. Like, the game was fantastic. That game, just because there are some animations that all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a minute. So Halo, like Master Chief looks the same fucking way, just little improvements on graphics. Does that mean he's not? It's the same game. Sorry, bro. Sorry, it's another fucking Halo. You guys will clap at anything. It's like, no, let's just fucking let the game be the game. Who gives a shit? It's like, sequels are sequels. It is a fucking sequel. Okay. Is it going to be a single camera shot from front to back like the first game? Maybe. I hope so. I thought that was great. Maybe they don't. Maybe they go to like traditional cutscenes and go back to sort of a normal, or I'd say more of a standard layout. Okay. I don't know, but it was just funny. It's so funny listening after all of the defending from the Xbox and the Bethesda fans, and how just the Starfield was, give it a chance, and people are just trying to bring me down. No one wants me to enjoy. No one wants me to be excited for a game like Starfield. And
they're trying to step on my shine. They're trying to put me in a bad mood. And, oh, you fucking Sony ponies. You guys are just haters. You know, you wish you had Starfield. Can't wait till Ragnarok. It's delayed. It's not happening. That game's in trouble. I mean, I read all of this shit and I heard all this shit. Where are they at now? I just hear crickets. I don't hear anybody fucking talking shit. Okay. And it's just funny. I get a kick out of that type of stuff, you know, some people are going to hear that and be like, dude, why are you doing that, man? Why are you fucking dragging it down? Why you gotta be negative? Just be happy that the game's coming out. It's like, well, yeah, I am happy. And I'm not one of those people that when I read a comment where I'm like, oh, that guy's taking my happiness away. He's taking it away from me. That comment just took my happiness and wadded it up and threw it on the floor. I can't be happy anymore. No, I don't give a fuck. I think some of the shit's funny, especially when people have a good sense of humor and then they can type that shit. I enjoy it. I enjoy the fucking shit talking. I enjoy that type of stuff. I mean, you know, to me, it's all in good and fun, you know, because it's just words. It's fucking word. Who gives a shit? But it just the way people responded to Starfield and that delay and the way they defended that, and then the articles and the videos, because there's been a lot. There's been a lot of clicks for God of War, like a lot of fucking clickbait shit, and that shit's I'm getting real tired of that. There's a couple of channels out there where I'm like, I might unsubscribe because I get the game, you know, I understand, you know, in this space, in YouTube space, for people who are they want to monetize, they need, you know, they want to hit that monetization threshold, and they want to make a living off YouTube. Listen, I'm not hating on you. You do your thing. You gotta, if you need to make your fucking tagline spicy, you need to make your headlines look sort of like, ooh, what the fuck? That's fine. I got no problem with that. However, there are some channels that really, they just blatantly say shit, and I'm like, wait, what? And I click on it, and they got me, right? So that's on me. But I click on it, and I listen to a fucking 10-minute, 9-minute, 20-minute video, and I'm like, yeah, but that was it. You didn't tell me shit. You sold me you sold me some bullshit. You said that there was this big news drop, that there was this big Microsoft drops a bomb, or fucking, you know, Sony just fucking put the kibosh on the fucking industry with the God of War Ragnarok news. I'm like, oh, okay, what is this, the release date? Okay, click. And then I'm like, and then it's like, my insider said, or speculatively, my so-and-so Twitter's account said in a very cryptic way. And I'm like, wait, what? That's what we're fucking talking about? It's like, oh God, that shit is just like, for this game in particular, God of War Ragnarok, man, it's been a fucking clickbaiter's delight. Like, it's just nonstop all the time. And to the point where some of the, I like for real, every time I saw God of War Ragnarok in a fucking title of any of the channels that I subscribe to, or just anything that was on my feed, unless it said release date announced, I didn't click on it. I stopped, because I did that like 4 or 5 times where I'm like, what, release date? Click. But I was like, release date question mark. And I'm like, oh, I see what you did there. Okay. You got me. And it just, you know, I'm kind of over that bullshit. So I don't, you know, those people who do that, you know, they're going to have to go out and find the next clickbait shit. But this Ragnarok release date, it absolutely got some people some traffic from me, from probably thousands of other people. Trust me, I've seen them. You know, I see their views. Motherfuckers getting 6,000 views in like an hour. They're getting 30,000 views in a day. So people are clicking on the shit, and I get it. It's part of the game. It's just, I'm hip to it. And now the more that I'm, you know, with my channel and what I do, like I said, I do this for a hobby. I do it just for fun. So, you know, and I spend a lot of time on YouTube just checking out videos and shit, and getting gaming news and whatever, even a little bit of political shit here and there. But for the most part, I'm starting to weed out that sort of clickbait trap, and I'm not going to fucking bite anymore. But yeah, so good news for God of War fans out there. It looks, the game looks promising to me. I know there's again, part of the, I won't say hating, but just part of the negativity about the game is like, well, it's going to be the same. It's going to be more of the same. It's like, okay, what's wrong with that? Like, I don't know when
I don't know when this became a thing. I just don't know. Sequels have all of a sudden gotten this sort of negative moniker of like, oh, it's just more of the same. And like Forbidden West got the same shit, Horizon. There's like, oh, it's just more Horizon, blah, blah. It's the same shit. And it's like, actually, it's not. It's kind of different. There's a lot of things that are really different from the first game and better, even though I'm not a huge fucking Horizon Forbidden West fan. God of War was a fantastic game. Gameplay was fucking sick. It was really fun. You could ratchet up the difficulty and really make it fucking, like, you could challenge yourself with that shit. Those Valkyries were a motherfucker to beat. The characters, the writing, everything. The voice acting was a fucking 10. It was just top-notch voice acting. The performances by all of the characters were, I think, perfect. There was not a character in that game where I was like, that character's kind of annoying, or that character doesn't really make sense, or that character's just sort of vapid, and why are they here? Everyone had a role to play, and they played it well. And the gameplay was great, and graphically it looked fantastic. The single camera shot was new, I guess that newness is gone. Like the shiny new thing isn't shiny new anymore, because it might be more of the same. But my goodness, it's like people just decided all of a sudden that fucking sequels are shit, and I don't know what's going on there. I'm kind of over it. It's like, how many Final Fantasy games are we gonna fucking get? I don't hear that shit. I don't hear everyone saying like, oh, Final Fantasy, it's just another Final Fantasy. It's like, no, Final Fantasy fans will fucking cut your throat if you talk shit about Final Fantasy. I don't get it. Even though that Final Fantasy 16 or whatever, the fucking 16, okay, Final Fantasy 16. They've made 16 fucking games, and I don't hear that shit. And like I was about to say, that trailer for Final Fantasy 16 looked fucking sick. It looked like a game that I want to play. But I wasn't looking. I'm like, oh, it's just more. I don't know why you guys like this. More Final Fantasy. It's like, no, it's a fucking sequel. Great. Who cares? It's a fucking tried and true franchise, And it's like God of War and Horizon, one fucking outing. And it's like, oh, nope. More of the same. Just trash. You guys, you Sony fans, you guys will eat anything in front of you. And it's like, wow, that's jealousy. That's what it sounds like to me. That just sounds like some jealous motherfuckers. Like they don't like the fact that someone else is eating good. You know what I mean? Because to me, in my opinion, this is just in my opinion, this isn't a fact, this is a subjective point of view. I think Sony fans are eating really good. I think they have been eating good for years. And I think Xbox gamers and fans, they haven't been eating as good, and they have been conditioned to expect specific things like day and date on Game Pass. That's the expectation. They've been conditioned to believe that. And if they don't get that, there's backlash. I've seen it. I've listened to it from creators, and I've seen it in comments, and I've heard people make those comments, and they say shit like, oh, I can't believe it's not day and date. This better be day and date. What the fuck? Why isn't this day and date? And it's like, wow, they're just conditioned. Like that, the Xbox and Microsoft have conditioned their player base to expect day and date on Game Pass. I don't get it. I really don't. But it is to each of their own. But to me, just my opinion, I think that Sony fans have been eating really good. I think they've been steadily providing content. Good games have been coming out, quality games. They're not like breaking barriers or anything like that, but it's like, hey, we're playing some good shit. There's no denying that. But yeah, I was just curious. I was just curious as to why, like, where did all those people go? All those people who were just fucking frothing at the mouth to talk about how this game was going to be delayed. Where'd you go? I'm looking for you. Can't find you. I'm sure you're there somewhere. All right, so last thing up, and this one's going to be kind of quick. Well, it might be. I don't know. This is interesting for me, at least. So at the end of what was that fucking game show? Not game show, but oh god, what was his name? Jeff Keighley's Game Awards or Summer Games Fest. I think that's what it's called. At the end of that, there was the big Naughty Dog release that got leaked, and so it got leaked like, I don't know, like hours before the show. Someone dropped the news on Twitter, I think, that what Naughty Dog was working on was a Last of Us remake. Like the first game, the first Last of Us, they were doing a remake. And they made a joke about it while they were presenting it, while that douchebag, Neil Druckmann, he's a tool, and him and Jeff Keighley, they kind of poked fun about the fact that this shit got spoiled. I mean, that sucks. I'm not saying I'm happy that it got spoiled, because that's not cool. But regardless, that was sort of the big news that was supposed to come out from them. And they did announce that they're working on their game called Factions, and that it's not ready to be shown yet, and that's next year we'll learn a lot more about this game. That's fine. That's all good and fun. However, this Last of Us remake, and again, and this is what I mean when I say I don't always agree with Sony defenders and fans and shit like that. I don't like, and that's I'll sometimes I just, it's kind of like the pay to win shit. I have my own opinion, and this one I will tell you right now that Sony fans probably don't like what I'm about to say. I think this is fucking waste. I do. I just do. I think the Last of Us remake is a fucking waste. That's just my opinion. Okay. I understand that remakes are what's fucking hot right now. I'm fucking tired of them. I really am. I am tired of the remake, remaster, reboot, redo, recall, try over, do over, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I'm done. I'm over it. I want to see new shit. Okay? So when douchebag came onto the stage, I thought, oh, are we about to hear some faction stuff? Because I didn't know about the spoilers. I had no idea. And I was like, oh, maybe we're about to fucking finally see what the next game they're going to make. Because love them or hate them, Neil Druckmann is the director or the lead or whatever, the head fucking dick over there at Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog makes quality fucking games. No one can deny that. You may not like The Last of Us 2. I never bought the fucking thing because I wasn't going to support their fucking bullshit. But that game, I've watched videos of it. The fucking game looks spectacular. Graphically, the sound quality, from what I understand, is great. The combat, everything on the up and up. So, outside of their agenda and their message, they know how to make a fucking game. Okay. So I was really excited when I saw Druckmann. I was like, oh shit, Factions, here we go. Like, let's finally get to see something. No, their big fucking news was Last of Us remake, a 9-year-old game. Let's fucking two generations ago. And I'm sorry, but let's stay on topic here, because I'm going to break this down. So, a game that came out on the PlayStation 3 at the very end of the PlayStation 3, and then got a remaster or a re-release on the PS4 with 60 frames per second and a little bit beefed up. Okay. I bought that game. I loved the first game so much that I was like, you know what? I'll play this game again. It's like watching a great movie again. I'll just go back and play the game and just fucking enjoy it, because it is that good. The story is that good. It's worth playing through again. That was my thoughts. And then I bought the game, put it in, started playing it. And I was like, okay, yeah, I played for a few hours. And I'm like, okay, I just didn't have the same, I know the story, and I'm not saying it was shit or anything like that. The 60 frames or whatever, the faster frame rate, whatever it was all good. There was nothing wrong with it. But yeah, so you got my money twice. I'm not going to fucking give it to you a third time, Naughty Dog. It's not happening. Sorry. If this game comes down to like a $10 bin thing and it's on a summer sale, next year, and you only get to pay $15-$20 for it, maybe. That's a maybe. Okay. And I've listened to, the Sony channels that I tune into on a weekly and a daily. I've listened to them just go hard and defend, like, this game is so quality, and the fucking amount of resources that they have put into this game to bring it to the level of quality that it's at right now. And they redid the combat, which they did. Apparently, I guess the combat now will resemble the combat from The Last of Us 2. That is like, oh my God, they're changing the game. It's like, but the story will be exactly the same. There's nothing that's going to be different. Okay, the combat's different. That's not bad. That's not a bad thing. I'm not shitting on that part of it, but it's like, it's a remake. It's a fucking remaster. Who cares? Like, I've already paid for this twice. Okay? And to listen to, and again, to me, this was kind of low-hanging fruit for Xbox, for the fans on the Xbox in the comment section. They came at, the Sony side and they were like, oh my God, you guys are fucking eating anything. And that type of stuff. I was like, well, actually, you kind of got a point. You kind of got a point right there, because I've listened to multiple PlayStation podcasts and they all say, this is worth it. This is worth it. They've worked really hard on it. What they're doing to this game, and look at the comparisons between the 2013 version or whenever that game came out to the 2022 version. And it just looks fantastic. And it's this night and day, and I'm buying this and blah, blah, blah. And let's add this onto it. This isn't a $50 game or a $40 game. This is a $70 game. This is a new price. Like, games are now going to be $70 instead of 60, which they've been $60 for fucking years, which, we've gotten away with that one, gamers. We need to just cut our losses on that one, because games have been $60 for what, 3 generations? About 3 generations now, because a lot of games right now are still $60. Sniper Elite was only 60. So, I'm okay with games prices increases to $70, because that's just how the world works. Shit gets more expensive. And like I said, we haven't had a price hike in so long that it's bound to happen. But this game you're going to fucking charge $70 for? I'm sorry. I don't give a shit when anybody says. I really don't. And if someone out there fucking wants to pull my fucking audio and call me all these names and say I'm a douchebag or I'm some fucking closet Xbox fan, go ahead. You can fucking kiss my ass. There is no defending this. This game is the exact same game with the tweaking to the combat, which is fine, and bringing the graphics and again, they really, this isn't just like they're like making it a little prettier. They really did. They put a lot of resources into this game. And that was the argument that I kept hearing, was like, oh man, they put so many resources into this game. Of course it's going to be worth $70, and I can't wait to play it. And I can't wait to pay for it. And it's like, aren't you tired of the same? This is the third time you're going to buy this fucking game. And that was the other thing too, is I heard lots of people, everyone who defended this said, oh, I bought the PS4 version. I'm going to buy this one too. And it's like, okay, that's you. Good for you. If you want to keep buying the same shit, you want to keep watching the same movie over and over, that's fine. That's okay. But I'm not going to pay for it. No fucking way. There's no fucking way. I'm sorry. I just think that to me, like I said, when I saw Druckmann on the stage, I was thinking we are going to see their next game, the next thing, because in my opinion, that's where we should be. We should be moving on to the next thing, not hearkening back to a fucking 9-year-old game. And just because, and again, there's no one taking away how great that game was. That game, in my opinion, I think that game is 100% in my top 3. It might shuffle from like 1 to 3, but there's no way I could ever take, not yet anyways, there's no way from then until now that I can take a game and bump The Last of Us out of my top 3 of all time. Okay? That's how great I think that game is. That's how special I think that vision was, and how emotional and how much I was invested in that game, how much I loved that game. That still does not change the fucking fact that it's the same fucking game. I don't give a shit if it's photorealistic, if it's fucking Ashley Birch and Troy Baker, like, oh my God, it's them. It's like really them. I don't care. It's still the same fucking game. It's not like they're redoing missions. It's not like they're restructuring the way you play through the game. It's nothing like that. You're playing through every single thing that you play through again. And I have no problem with people who replay the games and all that other stuff, but I was listening to so many people just take major shots at Xbox and Xbox fans, saying like, oh, you guys, I can't believe you guys are talking shit. You guys are over here fucking playing Halo. It looks like trash, which it does. You're over here playing fucking, all these other games, which are all fucking, nothing. Starfield's not coming out, and that trailer looks bad, which it does. All those points are true, but two things can be true at the same time, okay? people who are saying, and from the Xbox side, who are taking shots at this remake and saying, dang, I can't believe you guys are fucking going to spend another $70 on the same game. They're right. They are right. Because I can't justify it. I just can't. I will not be buying this game day one. Not going to happen. Again, this game drops down because to me, it was like, oh, okay, it's a remake. What's it going to be like $40, $30, something like that? 40 tops. Like, yeah, I might grab that. Maybe I will. Keep it in the library. Haven't played that game in a really long time. Why not play it? And when I do play this game again, why not play it in the best possible way possible? You know what? That makes sense to me. No. $70 fucking dollars. Like it's a brand new something. It's not. It's not. Okay. And the defenders for this, sorry. Yeah, I can't back you up on this one. I don't get it. I think this to me is a money grab. This to me is Naughty Dog and just the industry as a whole. Hollywood and all the corrupt, crappy bullshit that they do, they are all about nostalgia. They're all about redoing and remakes and remasters and reboots of fucking franchises. It's starting to happen in gaming. We're starting to see it more and more. Now, I think that there definitely is a threshold as far as time goes. A lot of people would say like, well, it's a PS3 game. So that's kind of, 2 generations ago. It's about the right time. It's like, yeah, but I would be okay with that had they not re-released it again on PS4. I would have been totally okay with that. Been fine. That's fine. No big deal. But it's like, if I'm not mistaken, who was that? Was that GT5? I think that GT5 cost money. The GT5 upgrade for the PS5 and the Xbox One Series, whatever. Oh God, I'm not going to use that comparison because for some reason I'm thinking it cost money, but regardless, people take shots at Sony for charging for the PS5 versions of PS4 games. Yeah. Listen, I understand that. I get that. To me, I'm not cool with that. Yeah, but however, I guess they need to recoup some of their money because it's not just like, oh, they just click a button. Oh, here we go. Boom. Now I'm going to click this upgrade file. I'm going to open the game in the engine. I'm a developer now. Okay, I'm going to click open, double click, click. It's open now. All right. Go to file, save as. I'm going to put it in the PS5 file and save. Now we just publish that and now we have a PS5 version. That's not how it works. Okay. It takes time. It takes resources. It takes money. Bottom line, it takes money. And that's all that really, really matters. That is something that I can understand if they need to charge $10-15 for. I don't like it and I'm not fucking cheering for it. Again, nothing is free in this world. And so when people fucking like, I don't get it day and date on Xbox Game Pass. This is bullshit. I don't get an upgrade from last generation's game to a PS5 or Xbox Series X. This is bullshit. It's like, and I can't believe this. How dare they? Who do they think they are? And it's like, well, okay, easy, kitten. But listen, let's not get too fucking ruffled. That's just how it's not free. Nothing's for free. Nothing is free. And if you get something at a fucking killer deal or it happens to be free, you say thank you, you count your fucking blessings, and you move on. But I think that there's sort of that, and that kind of goes back to that whole pay to win and go, there's just gamers in a general sense. I feel and I hear a lot of the things that are being said, and it's like there just really is this idea and this notion out there that shit should be free. Why am I not getting this for free? Why do I get charged for this and all this other shit? It's like, listen, nothing's fucking free. Okay. Everything costs money. Anything that takes time costs money, plain and simple. And to me, if Naughty Dog wanted to dump a ton of resources and a ton of time and money into remaking a 9-year-old game after they've already remastered it and then remake it and make a third pass to make more money off that, sorry, I'm not with that. So to me, that to me is dirty. It's kind of grimy to come at this from a perspective of this took time, this took resources, therefore it's worth all of this money. I don't think so. I disagree. I definitely understand, as I've made my point about the pay to win and all this other stuff. I understand the other side of that argument. I do. I understand people say, oh, it's predatory and they're trying to capitalize on people's weakness. Okay, listen, you're not lying, you're not wrong. I just think that people should be more accountable for their actions. Okay, this to me, the way Naughty Dog is taking the approach to this and charging $70 for a game that they released 9 years ago and then re-released like 2 years after that, a year after that, and got paid for that shit. I'm sorry, this to me seems very corporate, and I'm not cool with it, you know. And furthermore, you know, I've thought about this as well. You know, where are we right now in the gaming space when it comes to remakes, reboots, remasters, and all that other shit? You know, with everything that's going on with entertainment in general, with TV shows, with streaming shows, with movies, and now with games, I truly believe this. I think this. I believe that creatives who have pushed their chips in on these social issues and political issues, I believe they put themselves in a corner, and they can't create characters, stories. They can't create art as they would like to genuinely create it, because they know if their art doesn't fit the narrative, if it doesn't fit a mold that will be accepted by a very small percentage of the population, but the very fucking loudest of the population, if they don't fit into their fucking little box, they will suffer consequences publicly. And to me, that's bullshit. And I think that all of this nostalgia shit, all of this rehashing of the old IPs and sort of just fucking keep kicking out the same old shit over and over, I think it really is. I think we're seeing sort of two things going on here. There's three sort of, I say two, but I actually mean three. There's three different lanes that I see with creativity now. I think that one is the nostalgia, is let's just jingle and jangle the keys and let's remake and take old IP, and then we're going to shit all over it. We're going to get the people in the door, get their money, and then we're going to shit all over what they loved and what they liked or whatever, the shit that they rooted for when they were kids. Now they're going to shit all over and introduce this other bullshit. And that's a la Disney. Everything Disney's doing is prime example of that shit. Every fucking thing that Disney has done in the last fucking decade. That's all it is. And Hollywood in general. The other lane is let's just remake the same thing. Let's just redo it. Let's just re-release, blah, blah, blah. And I think that Hollywood they're over here, and I think gaming is in sort of that middle section where they're doing so many reboots and remasters and remakes that it's like, why? Like, how many fucking times are we going to play the same game? How many times are people going to keep paying for the shit? Again, I think there is a space for remakes and remasters. I think a game that came out in 2008, 2005 that was like a cult classic or a real hit, and then it gets remade and remastered in today's standards, technical standards, I should say, not political, not social, technical standards. I think there's a space for that, and I think that there's an audience for that, and I absolutely would pay for certain things. I have paid for certain games like that, but I think there's this very narrow lane where there's not that many people in that are out there in gaming and Hollywood that are trying to make real stories, make real characters, and create real journeys for viewers, for gamers, for readers, whatever, for people to really genuinely enjoy a true story arc, a true hero, a true villain, a true 3-act structure or a 3-movie structure. And I really applaud those people. I really applaud the people who don't bend the fucking knee to the message, to the social bullshit. They just create art. That's why I'm a big fan of stand-up comedians. I love Like Dave Chappelle, you know, I don't agree with everything that man says, but man, he will make jokes and whatever. He just doesn't give a fuck. And I appreciate that, because we're kind of in that area right now where I think more and more people are getting to the point where they're just like, I don't give a fuck. I just want to fucking play a video game. I just want to go to the movies, or I just want to sit and chill with my family and watch a show and not be fucking preached at all the time. And I think that's fair. I think that that's a really fair request. And when I see so many remakes and when I see so much nostalgia shit, I cannot help but feel that creativity is sort of in this it's in this sort of pit, you know, and only so many things are going to come out of that pit. Only so many things will survive that pit, because it is so deep, and Hollywood has dug themselves so deep, and gaming is starting to do the same thing. That, and you know, you can say the same thing for like comic books and shit too. You know, I don't read them, but I listen to comic fans, and I listen to, you know, quote unquote experts, you know, on comics, and I think that there's only so many things that can survive. But I think what will survive will be something special. There'll be the things that actually, where artists will actually get back to creating what's in their heart, what's in their mind, their imagination, without the walls being built around their art based on what's going on from CNN or Fox or Disney or Warner Brothers or some fucking douchebag fucking athlete, actor, musician, these elite pieces of shit who talk down to you and me and tell us how we should live, even though they don't fucking adhere to that. They don't live like you and I live. I think that people and the artists who are going to really grow the industries, all of those industries, will be the ones who don't fucking kneel. And I cannot help but think there is a correlation between all of these, in the gaming space specifically is what I'm talking about. I can't help but feel like, yes, there is a correlation. This is a lack of creativity, and I think it's structured in a way where people are not creating because they are confined by social issues. They're confined by the public, you know, by the people who are out there just being loudmouths on Twitter and shit, you know, and it sucks. It really does. It sucks. And that, you know, that's why when I see something good, you know, like Terminal List, you know, and it's like, hey, you know, this game fucking, or I'm sorry, this show isn't afraid to just be its show. You know, it's just going to do its fucking thing, and it doesn't matter. And, you know, there's a lot of things in that show that I'm sure people are like, ugh, you know, and there's been plenty of fucking, you know, articles, like shit articles talking trash on it, saying, oh, it's some fucking white male fantasy power trip or whatever the fuck it is, revenge story. Fucking suck it. Shut up. That's just, you know, and again, you always know you're on the right trail when certain people start bitching and complaining. You know you're on the right fucking trail. Just like, you know, when people go out of their way to say it's a conspiracy, you know, it's fucking, you're alt this, or you're crazy that, or you're fucking out there. You kind of know you're sniffing around, though you're on the right scent when you start hearing those words. So anyways, all right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Sorry, I kind of rabbit hole there for a second there, but I was just thinking about the whole, just the creative process in general, as someone who I feel personally, for me, you know, and I've been told this, you know, I think it's about myself, but I've been told this my whole life since I was very young, that I am very artistic and I'm very creative. And I couldn't imagine trying to create anything in some sort of confines where, you know, I couldn't, like, my art couldn't stand for itself. I had to make sure that I checked off 37 boxes before I can create what I wanted to create. And when I see all of the nostalgia shit and all of the retro this, retro that, and then I see all of the remakes and remasters and shit in gaming, it just, I can't help but think that those are all sort of in the same barrel, and they're there for the same fucking reason. And it's a shitty reason. So, all right, well, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. Hopefully this new format doesn't turn you off too much. As I said, you know, this is something I'm just testing out, just trying. Hopefully, and I'm sure Normie wife is going to put on some cool shit and make the screen,
dazzle you in your eyes. But if not, I hope that you bear with me and as I try these new things on my channel and on my show or on my podcast, because I don't like to get into the same ruts, because creatively or just like in my mind, it just doesn't work for me. So anyways, thank you for taking the time. If you liked the video, if you think somebody else might like it, share it with a friend. Click the thumbs up button, give me a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I will talk to you later. Thank you for taking the time. Bye.